go here, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Because we are here at the South Central Conference, we kind of highlighted the work in the South Central Conference. Here listed some of the publishing leaders. This is an incomplete work, but here you have J.W. Hutchinson. I didn't have the opportunity of knowing him, but numerous of our senior citizens that have come through this exhibit have mentioned that it was J.W. Hutchinson that had brought them into the literature work. Then here we have Elder William Smith, Robert Carter, and Java Madison, who is the present publishing director of the South Region Conference. And I love this picture here. If you can look right here, all of this is representing the South Central Conference. This picture here of these church members, this is a church in Belzoni, Mississippi. And I believe, according to my story, that it was a literature evangelist that started a cottage meeting in Belzoni. And from that cottage meeting, they baptized 15 people, and then the conference sent an evangelist into town. And they baptized another 56 members. And here are some of the recent members of that church. There were a number of churches in the South Central Conference that was started by literature evangelists. As a matter of fact, I had my hand on an article that was written by Elder Dudley. And in that article, he lists about 5 or 6 churches that got started because of the literature work. Unfortunately, I've misplaced that article, but I know that I'm going to find it eventually. As we go on down here, I did mention O.W. Mackey, who was one of the great publishing leaders in the South Central Conference. And also, if we can just go back to the pioneers for a minute. We just want to go back here to the pioneers. I omitted this, not purposely. Here, W.E. Warren. He was one of the early literature evangelists in the South Central Conference. As a matter of fact, he traveled all over the South Central Conference. He canvassed down in Florida. He canvassed in Tennessee. He canvassed in Alabama. He canvassed in Mississippi. And Warren, the story is told that he went on to the farms and he sold to the sharecroppers. And there were times when he was insulted and even kicked off of a plantation because he was canvassing and showing the books to the workers in the field there. And then we have here, let me tell the story of Odell Mackey. He purchased a copy of the great fundamentals of our work. The reading of this book led him to study further, and he became a Seventh-day Adventist. He accepted the doctrine. And 4 years after returning home from the army, Elder Mackey answered the call to become a literature evangelist. And he went on to become director of publishing of the South Atlantic Conference. Now I'm going to talk about one of my favorite people here. I don't have his caption here. And this is Elder Silas McClam. Elder Silas McClam was publishing director for many years. I heard his name. He was publishing director here in the South Central Conference. He was publishing director in the Allegheny Conference, I also believe. But the reason I am so impressed is that he was a blessing to me even in his death. When I wanted to bring the museum down to the Evangelism Council, I did not have the funds to do it. But I kept moving forward in faith. And on the third day, after which I should have secured the trailer to set up my museum, I received a letter from a relative of Mr. Elder McClam. And they had sent to my department a donation in the amount of $2,500. And that is how I was able to bring and set up the museum for the Evangelism Council. God is so good. Okay, we're going to go. I didn't mention T.S. Barber either. Let me just mention him. the publishing director over in the Lake Region Conference. I'm still seeking for more information of some of the early publishing directors. There's not a lot of stuff written, but I'm receiving information from people as they come in to visit. But the story is told that Elder Barber was a very wealthy man, and he had gained his wealth through the publishing ministry, and that he was very generous in the cause of God in the Chicago area. And him and his wife, for I believe about 30-some years, 35 years, worked in the publishing ministry. And for years, he was publishing director there at the Lake Region Conference. Okay, now we're going to come down here. I'm going to bring you on down. I have a picture up here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, of Elder Dudley giving an honor to Mahalia Haskell, who was a literature evangelist from Mobile, Alabama. And she had won 29 souls that year. And he was given an award because for the last 2 years, she had won a total of 59 souls to Christ through the sale of Christian literature. And here we have a picture of Elder William Smith and Elder Joseph McCoy recognizing and honoring a literature evangelist for their outstanding work in soul winning. And now you come in here, that's all of the regional conferences, publishing ministry, South Central. And now we're just going to take a little short preview of the Allegheny East Conference here. And what we have here is a picture in Allegheny East Conference first newspaper when they published their own paper. It was called the Allegheny East Intercom. And on the front here is Elder Dorsey, who was the president of the Allegheny East Conference. And he's flanked by, on the left, Robert LaGrone, and on the right, George Anderson. Changing of the guards here. Elder George Anderson is getting ready to retire, and Elder Robert LaGrone is taking over the helm as publishing director of the Allegheny East Conference. And following Elder Robert LaGrone was Elder Noah Beasley. Elder Noah Beasley had worked as associate publishing director in the Allegheny West Conference, and he was called over here to the Allegheny East Conference, and for a number of years, I don't have those dates yet, he worked as publishing director, and he is the one that extended the call to me to become publishing director of the Allegheny East Conference in 1995. Here we have two of our retired literature evangelists, Sister Geneva Washington, Sister Mary Flowers. Also retired was Elder Robert Parker and his wife, Sudella Parker. Elijah Watson also retired, and he's also deceased at this time, was one of our outstanding publishing directors. And I have a picture up here of the new leadership for the Allegheny East Conference. Reginald Alexander, Rodney Grissom, Sister Jean Good, and Brother Robert Moses, who have over 35 years in publishing. Sister Jean Good, over 29 years. And the other two young men, between the two of them, about 5 years. And we just have a little bits and pieces concerning some of the other conferences. We are working to improve on the information as we find it available here and there on these other great conferences. So you can just scan that, and I want to talk about this over here. Oakwood University Publishing Ministry depicted here on this wall. And I want to start with the first publishing director for the LETC. And that was none other than the beloved Elder Sandy Robinson. He was such an outstanding publishing director. He trained leaders in this work. Bob Smith Jr., what's his name? Bob Smith Jr., Steve Ruff, and many others came under his leadership, and they went on to become great leaders themselves in the publishing work. And they often talked about Elder Sandy Robinson, how he was a man of prayer, and he taught them about praying and about fasting. And one of the things I remember Elder Robinson most about is how he ended every workshop or every sermon with this poem here. A minute. You only have a little minute. Only 60 seconds in it. Thrust upon you, can't refuse it. You didn't pick it, didn't choose it, but it's up to you to use it. You must suffer if you lose it, give an account if you abuse it. For you only have a minute, but eternity is in it. That statement, he is most famously remembered for that statement. That meant so much to so many people that heard him. He was an inspiration to many. I even remember Jason McCracken talking about how he came down here and wanted to get in school and didn't have any money, and he went to see Elder Sandy Robinson, and Elder Sandy Robinson said, "Come on, boy," gave him a bag full of books and took him canvassing. Mm-hmm. He was a great man and touched so many lives. Also, I didn't mention on the other side Bob Smith Sr., who became the first black president of the Review and Herald. Him and Elder Sandy Robinson was very good friends. They were often, as here, seen together, socializing and visiting together. Here we have some of the students that have worked over the years with the different publishing department, groups of students here. We have here one of our pastors. This was from 1982. Pastor Mark Starter worked as a student leader here at Oakwood, and now he's an outstanding minister of the gospel for the Allegheny East Conference. Here's a statement I'd like to share with you that was written in the ACON booklet by H.D. Singleton, who was the president, I don't really have the year, here at Oakwood University. "I always feel like lifting my hat to a book agent because he is doing more good than I can ever hope to do." This is a quotation from a noted preacher. Realizing the truthfulness of this statement, we at Oakwood are trying by God's help to better prepare ourselves for the noble work of book selling. Okay, I think that's it. Another group picture here with Elder D'Souza and Elder Sandy Robinson with a group of students and some publishing leaders. We had come here in March for a big campaign that they were having here. Okay, now we'll start back on that end over there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm happy to be able to depict on this wall here the carrying out of the biblical mandate to proclaim glad tidings via the printed page. And what we have here are some of our literature evangelists that we were able to accompany them to some appointments, and were able to take these pictures in the homes of their customers and their prospects here. So that's what we have here. A young lady from Virginia, Patsy Battle, in the home of one of her customers, canvassing her on the Bible Reference Library. And we have others here doing the same thing. I don't know if you can get this shot here. We do a lot of marketplace canvassing, and this is two of our literature evangelists in a barber shop, beauty salon, canvassing the operators there. And in addition to the operators,